The story starts with a woman named Helen who has been running with a terrified face. When she reached to the road, her father jumped from the roof of the building and falls right beside her. She was frightened by this. Helen runs to the road and accidentally hit by a car. Then we see Helen in the hospital. Helen wakes from coma and sees her husband Greg Tilley came to talk to her. She get news that it has been a year after the accident happened. Not only was she the last person to see her father alive before his suicide, but that she is also now a mother to Heidi, a child she has no memory of ever carrying. Helen was very shocked by hearing this and can't remember something before the accident. Some days later, Detective Shepard came to investigate about his father. After asking some question, he leaves. When they were going to their house, Greg tells that he has to sell their house for the repayment and were going to live in her father's house. Together with her husband Greg, Helen moves into the home left to her by her father. When they arrive to the house, Helen gets vision about past. After some days, Helen visited an old friend of his father named Frank Menzies. She asked about his father and why did he suicided. Frank says he must has his reasons for doing this. Frank also tells about his daughter who has gone missing in 1980 and Helen resembles her. Helen looks out of the window and saw a kid's ghost. Helen's nose starts bleeding. After coming to home, she struggles to overcome her amnesia and attempts to remember her father's last words to her before he took his own life. But she can't remember anything. Greg goes out of the town for a conference. He says he will be back in few days. At night, Helen wakes up from having a bad dream. She then hears knock on the door. She goes to check, and saw a kid was hitting the door.
Who are you?
Helen was frightened by seeing this, and goes to open the door, but there was no one. Helen calls Greg and tells him that she is seeing some strange thing in the house. She goes to Detective Shepard in the morning and tell him about the strange activities. She asks if he could help her in this matter. Detective Shepard tells her that he can't give any help in this matter. Unexplainable events begin to occur in the home. Helen starts seeing shadows moving and many ghost activities. At the next day, Helen invites a psychic investigator named Stuart. They try to communicate with the spirit of the dead. Suddenly there was a high-pitched noise and Stuart start writing something like he was being possessed. When the high-pitched noise stops, they saw what was written on the book. There was 6 names. She start to investigate with these names. Until now a skeptic, starts to believe that her father is offering answers to her questions from beyond the grave. But when the paranormal events turn ever more violent, Helen discovers that she is being haunted by the ghosts of children with the unique ability to inflict their pain and anguish on her. Helen's investigation leads her to the parents of missing children from decades before, including Frank, a man whose daughter went missing in the 1980s, and claims to be an old acquaintance of Helen's father. When she then tracks down a retired police detective who believes the child abductions were the work of a serial killer known only as Sackhead, Helen begins to suspect that her father may have lived a double life as a child murderer. Then she goes to their old family house. As her suspicions seem validated by the discovery of multiple graves at her old family home,
the same person the kids called Sackhead killed the stag. The same person the kids called Sackhead killed the stag.
Oh, Jesus.
Helen fears she is paying for her father's sins. Helen meets with Father Moreau for guidance. She wants to know if she has to suffer the pain of her father's sin and will her daughter have the same fate as her. Father Moreau says that her father has come to him in confession for forgiveness. Helen goes home and calls Stuart, tells him how can she talk to her father. Helen tries to do what Stuart told her. After some time she sees her father's ghost going to where he suicided. Helen wants to talk to him but he does the same thing again and again.
is simply existing in a cycle of honour.
Then she sees a photo of her and Frank in her childhood. Helen goes to Frank to know the answers. Then we see Helen's husband Greg comes to meet with her, but suddenly someone attacks him and cuts his throat, then takes hiding. After some time, retired police detective Burroughs came and finds Greg dead. Helen arrives to Frank's house and gets to know all the truth. Robert was not her father, Frank was her real father, and Frank is also the serial killer who kidnapped and killed the children. Helen asks where's Heidi, but Frank didn't answer her.
I have no choice besides how you feel about your father.
Where is she? Where is he?
Frank goes out of the house, then shockingly retired detective Burroughs shoots Frank in the head. After some days we see Helen was also about to attempt suicide. That's how the story ends. Subscribe to my channel for more content like this one and click the like button.